Hi, you know me. I'm Ed's bike. And I'm pretty mad at Ed right now for making me sit out in the rain while he stayed in all nice and dry inside Ritual Cafe. Well, now that I'm here, let's do this show. And what's all this about? Binders full of women?
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage.
Open Sesame is Des Moines' premier Lebanese cafe. This month, Open Sesame is offering an unbeatable lunch special on Monday and Tuesdays. Mention the Fallon Forum when you order anything on Open Sesame's delicious lunch menu and get the second item for half price. That's right, buy one, get one for half price. Open Sesame's pita wraps, salads, soup, and mouth-watering Mideastern specialties will have you and your dining partner coming back again and again. Open Sesame at 313 East Locust Street in Des Moines' historic East Village.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, folks, welcome to the Fallon Forum on this beautiful, moist day here in downtown Des Moines. We're in the Skywalk, of course, broadcasting live from the Webcast One studio across from Palmer's Deli. I want to thank my producer, Maddie Arrington, and all the other folks here who make this show technically possible, because when it comes to technology, I'm as dumb as they get. But we've got to talk about the debate a bit here today, folks, and that I'm going to save the lion's share of that conversation for later. Binders full of women. Well, maybe it's binders full of BS, because apparently the facts are nowhere near the reality that Mitt Romney tried to paint on that picture. We'll talk about that, excuse me, that later in the program. But first, I want to welcome David Rosenfeld to the show. David is a candidate for the U.S. Congress. And no, it's not a pseudonym for Tom Latham or Leonard Boswell. There is a third-party candidate on the ballot, and it's David Rosenfeld with the Socialist Workers Party. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ed.
And you are actually going to be included for the first time in a debate with Leonard Boswell and Tom Latham.
Yes, people can log on to KMA Radio tonight.
Which one?
KMA. Shenandoah, and listen to the debate. It's the first one that all of the candidates have been invited to. The Register, KCCI, Iowa Public Television didn't see fit to invite other candidates to this, but this will be an opportunity to actually hear a working class voice in the debate.
So what's different about this group? Why did they decide to invite you?
Well, it seems that the station management there, we made an appeal to basic fairness and democratic rights, and they responded to it. According to the station manager there, neither the Latham or the Boswell campaigns was too crazy about the idea. But
of including you.
Exactly. But they're locked in a close enough race where they can't really afford to lose any airtime. and we'll see how it goes tonight. I'm going to try to put it to them both.
Is this the only? There are only 3 debates, correct?
Well, this is the only one that I've been invited to,
Okay.
and this, I believe, is either the third or the fourth debate.
Okay, yeah. And I'm curious now. The radio station in Shenandoah, owned by Clerk Channel, Cumulus, or is it an independent station?
I'm really not sure what the answer to that is. Although it is a historic radio station, it's been around since the beginning of radio.
So is WHO, which is now owned
yes.
by Mitt Romney and Bain Capital, essentially.
But so the answer to that question is I really don't know.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. Well, I'm glad of that because I think it's a travesty of justice when media outlets or debate organizers decide just to include certain candidates. I understand if you've got a field of 7, 8, 9, 10 candidates, you got to have some. You got to draw the line somewhere. But when there's only 3 or 4, that's reasonable. I mean, when I ran for governor, I was, all the Democratic candidates were included in the debates. Even Saul Mohammed, who was way out there, had no staff, no campaign structure as such, and yet he was still included in the debates. And I thought that was fair, even though I thought some of his ideas were crazy.
Well, but the thing is this: in this country, there's a 2-party monopoly in politics, and the media, the parties themselves, and really the ruling class in this country all work together to make sure that we don't present other roads apart from the Democrats and Republicans. It works really well for those who rule this country to be bouncing back and forth between the Democrats and Republicans and not having the confidence that there could be another way.
So are you saying there's no difference between the 2 parties?
Absolutely not. There is a difference. I would call them twin parties. They're fraternal twins, not identical. But they do serve the same class interests. They're part of the capitalist system. Obama keeps coming back time and again in these debates to the genius of the free market economy. Well, in fact, this so-called free market economy, what I would just call capitalism, has led to a gigantic, devastating crisis.
But isn't there a difference between unbridled capitalism, which some even on the right have referred to as corporate capitalism or crony capitalism? Isn't there a difference between that and a reasonably regulated free market system that allows people to take their dream, their passion, their energy, their talents and turn it into an economic success? I mean, to me, the free market economy is a much more decentralized. You don't have chains and large conglomerates because in a well-regulated economy, you've got good antitrust laws. You've got laws that prevent monopolies from forming, and you've got regulations that are fair. Unlike our current system, which the regulations favor big clients. I mean, look at talk shows. I mean, I can't get time on a commercial station because of deregulation, getting regulation out of the way so you can allow these big stations to own, or big corporations to own so many stations. So to me, there's a difference. Okay. And maybe you tell me what you think I'm wrong
There are
about.
differences between the Democrats and the Republicans. I mean, but
that wasn't my point. My point.
Okay, but I believe it's a utopian notion that we could have a capitalism that would be a fully free market capitalism, decentralized, well regulated, and all the rest. Capitalism itself has its own tendencies and laws, and it has come to a moment in its history, really for the last more than a century, of monopoly capitalism. That's the capitalism that we have. That's the capitalist reality.
But what's more of a utopian vision? What's more a bigger fantasy, that or a functional socialist or communist government, operating here in the U.S.?
Well, the whole notion behind, I believe, lesser evilism, which I'll commend you, and I think that you're one of Des Moines' great advocates of lesser evilism.
Is that a compliment, Manny? That's clever. Anyway,
but it is premised on the fact that a society run by working people is a fantasy, is a utopia. It's premised on the fact too that the working class really doesn't have it in it to lead the kind of movement that could make revolutionary change. But I genuinely believe that, one, the capitalist system absolutely doesn't work, and two, that the working class can make revolutionary change. The question is what course we're going to take towards getting to that. And I don't think it's going to be easy or quick. I think it's through fighting to defend ourselves today that we begin to accumulate the knowledge, the consciousness, and the fighting capacity to actually make those revolutionary changes.
Well, David, I think I could probably talk political philosophy with you for a long time, but I think we both have interest in that. But let's get to the issues, the distinction, the differences. I mean, what's going to come out in the debate tonight in terms of your position versus Tom Latham and Leonard Boswell? What will people see that's different?
Well, one of the things that's the theme in the election this year, to the extent that you can have one, because it's jumping all over the place, but everyone is talking about jobs. But one of the things that, as soon as you step back a little bit, none of the politicians, none of the parties actually have a plan to create jobs. Obama's plan basically is more and more stimulus, what they're calling quantitative easing, printing up money and throwing huge amounts of it at the banks. It's lifted the stock market, but it has not lifted employment. Romney cut tax for small and big business, deregulate. But that's not going to create jobs either. So what we're saying is that we need to carry out a fight, a working class fight, for a government jobs program that would put millions and millions of people to work and that would address the tremendous social needs that we have.
And that is a legitimate distinction between you and both Leonard Boswell and Tom Latham. I mean, I think there would be, between those two, I think Tom Latham would probably parrot the argument you hear on the Republican side all the time. You didn't create this job, government person. I created it. Or it's always the private sector that's doing the employment growth opportunities. Leonard Boswell would probably say, yeah, some of that, but also, some of the things government has done and needs to do also help stimulate the economy. But you're saying basically that it's not the private sector, it's the public sector where you see job growth happening.
Well, here's the thing, is that the massive unemployment that we have is not just a problem for those that don't have work. It's a problem for the entire working class because it demoralizes us, it discourages us, it cuts across our capacity to exercise solidarity, and the one group that it benefits is the companies that employ us because they use that to drive down our wages. I work through a temporary agency. I make $10 an hour. I have no benefits. More and more
you're
companies.
You're going to be a millionaire when you get into Congress.
Well,
eventually. I mean, they all are, right?
Well, they are, but that's not the road that I'm trying to travel.
Right, I understand.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that they use this to their advantage to drive down our living standards and to pit us against each other. That's why the question of solidarity is so important. But the biggest obstacle to solidarity right now is the question of jobs, and so fighting for a program which will put millions of people to work is an immediate step that we can begin to organize around.
Okay. And, I would think that a lot of labor unions and their members would appreciate that position. Are you getting us any support, any traction with labor unions?
I'm finding that, the heart of our campaign has not been spending millions of dollars on negative commercials. We don't have the money, and we wouldn't go that way anyway. The point that what we've been doing is knocking on doors, thousands of doors all over Iowa. And one of the things that we're finding is that there is a new receptiveness to at least discussing revolutionary ideas and radical solutions.
Now, who's we?
Our campaign and our supporters.
When you say all over Iowa, you mean all over the 3rd District?
Well, we don't limit our campaign to the 3rd District. And in fact, we're also supporting the presidential campaign of James Harris and Mara DeLuca of the Social
And I've had James Harris on this program
That's
before.
Right.
So are there SWP, Socialist Workers Party, candidates in all 4 congressional districts?
No, just in the 3rd District for Congress, and we're running a candidate for House and for Senate in the Des Moines area.
Okay. All right. So other issues on which you see yourself distinguished from Leonard Boswell and Tom Latham?
Let's talk about immigration.
Okay.
Here's another example of the way that workers are pitted against each other. Millions and millions of workers from other countries are drawn into the United States to be super exploited. The employers try to use the fact that they don't have documents, that they're more vulnerable to do this. I worked for years as a meat packer. The billions of dollars in profits were made from doing this. Boswell and Latham agree on the question of immigration, that the border needs to be further militarized, that people need to be kept out. I'm saying that immigrant workers are fellow workers. As long as we have this division, it weakens the entire working class. And what we need to fight for is legalization for all immigrants.
So you're on the same page as the conservative Cato Institute.
In what sense?
Cato Institute says, don't bother restricting the flow of labor if you don't believe in control. I mean, Cato is very libertarian. They don't want to control how the markets happen at all, and that includes labor. So if labor wants to come across the border and work, let them.
Yes,
So you're in the
I
same,
do agree. I am in the
interesting
same camp on
bedfellows.
that. Well, you know, I'll agree. I mean, there can be points of agreement with all kinds of different capitalist politicians, think tanks, and all the rest. We're coming at this from a different point of view, though. What strengthens the working class, our capacity for solidarity, and our ability to think of ourselves as an international class, to not start with ourselves as Americans, because that's another one of the great divisions where workers in this country are pitted against workers in other countries. The attacks on China really boil down to that.
What do you mean by attacks on China?
Well, all the politicians are running around saying that they're going to be tougher on China than the others. You heard that in the debate last night with Romney and Obama.
Not sure what that means exactly.
Well, obviously there's an element of demagogy there.
Sure. Yeah.
But there is a nationalist thing here that pits workers in this country against workers in other countries. That tries to convince workers that we have a common interest with our employers, with the billionaires in this country, and that our enemies are workers in other countries. We say the opposite, that we have to start from a standpoint of solidarity internationally and fight to defend workers around the world. When workers at the Foxconn factory in China are beginning to try to organize unions, beginning to try to fight back against the conditions that they face, we say, hallelujah, those are our people. And we need to do everything we can to link up with them and to advance their struggle and to view it as a common struggle.
So, and much of what you say makes sense to me. I mean, I think we differ on some elements of the underpinnings of political philosophy, but you know, I mean, a lot of what you're saying are things you might hear again organizers, labor union organizers say. And yet, labor, labor is not going to jump on the socialist bandwagon. It's not a. My problem is I don't think America is ever going to be a socialist country, and I admire certain things about socialist countries in some parts of the world, universal health care, for example, decent wages, more worker ownership of production. I think those things are good. I think you can still get to those here in this country with a better free market system, but. The bottom line, in terms of your campaign, how do you get people to move beyond their distaste for the S word?
Well, the thing that's going to the most important question is how do we get workers into motion in defense of their own interests, and part of doing that is breaking from the idea that we can't function in the political arena as an independent force, that you have to choose between the Democrats and the Republicans, that you're locked into that system. But wherever there's a fight, wherever there's workers standing up and defending themselves, whether it's this beginnings of a union organization amongst Walmart workers, in several states around the country, there have been walkouts, there have been protests, in one of the bulwarks of anti-unionism in the United States. This is really significant.
They'll close down entire sections of their store
to avoid. They view unionism
avoid.
as a cancer.
Yeah.
But they can be as, Henry Ford viewed unionism as a cancer too. He would go to no ends to stop unions from coming to Ford Motor Company. I mean, how many union organizers were beaten to a pulp by Ford's goons before the workers were able to organize unions there? But the unions will come because the workers will always find a way to collectively defend themselves. And so it's through these actual defensive battles that we begin to develop confidence in ourselves as a class, and that we begin to actually be able to see another way forward. And that's why supporting these kinds of fights, this kind of solidarity is really important, even though right now the unions are weak, the workers are disorganized, we don't have a lot of confidence in ourselves. The little battles that do take place are few and far between, and many of them go down to defeat.
Well, labor unions and the workers who they represent still have a lot of clout within the Democratic Party. I mean, they're pretty much.
I would argue that that's really less and less true.
I would say they have a lot of clout during the campaign, but when politicians actually get elected, I mean, we had Democrats in charge of the Iowa House, Senate, and governor's office for 4 years.
How did that go for you?
Very, very poorly. I mean, one labor bill was passed, and Governor Culver vetoed it. All the other priorities of labor couldn't even get through the Democratic House. So, I mean, at some point you would think labor should be saying, well, is this really the party that's going to fight for us? And, I'm not saying your party is the answer, but, you'd think there would be more dissatisfaction with the way Democrats have failed to deliver, despite all the money, time, shoe leather, and and support that labor has shown to the Democratic Party.
I will say this, that the officialdom of the union movement is caught lock, stock, and barrel in a perspective of all of their eggs in the Democratic Party basket. I don't expect that's going to change from their point of view. What will change this is when we begin to develop a fighting, militant labor movement. And one of the things that will be a byproduct of such a movement will be a labor party.
So what does militant mean? That sounds like
awful militant.
It sounds like you've got your guns and you're ready to start a violent revolution.
Well, I'm not talking about violence. I'm not talking about guns. I'm talking about fighting with some discipline and fighting with some enthusiasm and fighting and not backing down, and drawing some inspiration from some of the genuine revolutionary social movements that are part of our history in the United States, like the black struggle. That was a struggle of millions and millions of people. That was a militant struggle.
Well, why do you say it was militant?
Why was it militant?
Yeah.
Because the essence of that struggle was to tear down a system of legal segregation in this country, but all of the things, the way that insidious ways that affected the fabric of the whole society.
And what does that have to do with, when I hear militant, I hear the same root as military.
Well,
militia. I hear guns. I hear a struggle not committed to nonviolence.
I don't think that violence is not the question that enters into this. And okay, you may be hearing that, Ed, and some people do hear that in the word. I will say this: the name of our newspaper is the Militant Newspaper. It's been that since 1928. And one of the things I find is that when I visit a picket line, when I'm part of a fight for immigrant rights, when I'm involved in defending abortion rights, the activists, the core of these, the fighters, the vanguard of these struggles, actually begins to come around to the idea that we do need to act in a militant way, that we do need to be intransigent in figuring out the way forward for our fight, and they begin to identify with the name of our newspaper or with just the word militant.
All right, well, fair enough. It's a matter of distinction and how you regard the term. But let me ask you another question. The Green Party and the Libertarian Party have both been able to, every once in a while they gain ballot access. Right. More importantly, they're both listed on the voter registration card. And that's not that hard to do. How come the Socialist Workers' Party hasn't been able to do that?
Well, you do have to hit some kind of thresholds in order to do that, that we have not.
No, it's you have to have run a candidate for U.S. Congress, I think U.S. Senate or governor maybe.
Well, and you have to hit a certain percentage of the vote.
No.
Well, actually, when I ran for governor a couple of years ago, including against a Libertarian candidate, his whole electoral strategy was to hit that electoral threshold so that the Libertarians would be on the ballot.
I'm talking about the voter registration card.
Oh, the voter registration card. Well,
you don't have to hit any threshold to be on the voter registration card.
Okay, and we'll look into that. I don't.
Here I am trying to help you out.
I don't have an answer to that.
I mean, one thing I believe in very strongly is diversity. Even if I don't agree with the Libertarians or the Socialist Workers' Party, I certainly respect your right to be included in the debates, to be on the ballot, and to be on the voter registration card. I think that's important.
And let's talk about felons being able to vote.
Felons or felons?
Felons. Well, felons. That's you'll deal with that.
Yeah, I'm not a felon. I'm not a felon yet. So.
Yeah, but we just took a tremendous step backward in this state.
Yes.
When Governor Terry Branstad changed the way that felons can reestablish their right to vote.
Right.
And making it basically impossible for that to happen.
And that's an important distinction between Democrats and Republicans. I mean, it was Democrat Tom Vilsack as governor who established that executive order that allowed that to happen.
Well, but, why should simply being a felon disqualify you from voting?
It shouldn't.
Why should you have to apply?
It's easier to get your gun rights back after you've done your time than it is to get your voting rights back. How crazy is that?
Yeah. And do people recognize that the history of this was part of actually disenfranchising blacks in the South? There was a number of the poll tax and other, in addition to the Klan violence and all the rest, but it was also denying felons the right to vote, which was part of the whole package of putting Jim Crow into place and making sure that blacks couldn't vote. Yeah. This is the one thing that still remains and that's become pervasive around the country, but it's part of creating a pariah layer of the working class, people who've been to prison or are in prison, and scapegoating them, blaming them, and disenfranchising them.
Yeah, and largely poor, minority. I mean, Iowa's black population is what, 2 or 3% of the population,
but look
and
at
yet
the
it's
prison
about
population.
30% of the prison population.
Exactly.
So I mean, and you can argue as to why that is, but the fact is, there's a disproportionate percentage of the black community in prison, and of the 50,000 people that were suddenly able to vote under Vilsack's executive order, a big chunk of those were minorities, and nearly 90+% of them were poor.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that. We got to run to a break here,
Okay.
but real quick, any last key issues you want to, you know some of the issues we talk about on this program: campaign finance reform,
Okay, let's talk
environmental
about that real
protection,
quick.
climate change.
'Cause we're going to disagree on campaign finance reform.
We are good.
Absolutely.
That'll be fun.
The problem in this country is not that there's big money in politics. That's not the problem. The problem is the government is a capitalist government, and that it serves the capitalist class. And you can reform it all you want. That's not going to change it. But one of the things that the negative impacts of campaign finance reform is that it's limiting free speech. The question of who can say what.
But you're equating free speech with money.
No, I'm just saying.
That's what I thought I just heard.
Well,
You and the Des Moines Register agree.
well, perhaps we do on this. And also, the Socialist Workers' Party has fought for years against disclosure, against having to disclose our
Really?
contributors. Because
You lost my vote.
Well, historically speaking, our party has been persecuted in many different ways, both by the government and other forces. We're not turning over lists of people who contributed to the Socialist Workers' Party, and we shouldn't have to. So far, we've been able to maintain an exemption. We have to come up every 4 or 6 years and argue to do this again.
Right now it's a moot point because under Citizens United you've got extremely wealthy individuals contributing tens of millions to campaigns without any disclosure at all. So it's a moot point. We can come back and fight about that some other time. Good luck with the debate, folks.
Okay.
David Rosenfeld, the Socialist Workers' Party candidate for Congress. If you don't want to vote for Tom Latham or Leonard Boswell, maybe he's an option. Or you can do like me and write in Mayor Frank County. No offense.
Okay.
But I do appreciate you taking the time to converse, and I think this is a good discussion, and we certainly agree that there ought to be more voices in the political process, not just two parties, and two parties that are different in many ways, but very similar and disturbingly similar in ways that continue to avoid real solutions to problems that are affecting real people every day of their lives. Folks, I want to thank Gateway Market for helping to sponsor this segment of the program. Also, Physicians for Social Responsibility and the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club. I want to thank Brother Trucker for kicking the program off with their tune Downtown. And I want to remind you that you can join the conversation too at 515-244-0077, 244-0077. And we'll be back in a few minutes. At some point in this program, I hope to have another guest on the show. I hope to have Bob Bird. You know, the Big Bird has become quite famous lately, or famous again lately. Well, his brother Bob is really kind of unhappy about some things, and we'll try to talk with him later.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey folks, it's Ed Fallon. I want to tell you about saving energy and saving money. Tim Reynolds with Reynolds Energy Solutions will give you a comprehensive energy audit that will cost you nothing. And Tim will identify the many ways in which you can reduce energy use while saving money. Now, I had Tim over for an audit last month, and I was amazed, I tell you, at how much energy was going through the roof, out the windows, the back door. You get it. So before the cold winds of winter really blow hard, give Tim a call at 802-2801. That's 802-2801.
Host is a locally owned restaurant in downtown Des Moines that focuses its food and philosophy on embracing simplicity. The majority of Host's food is from local farmers who practice sustainable and health-conscious agriculture. Much of what you'll find on your plate is a familiar comfort food, presented with a modern and tasty interpretation. Host is open for lunch Monday through Friday from 11 to 2, and also available for private dinner events and special themed dinners throughout the month. So, check out Host at 13th and Locust in Des Moines.
With warm weather finally here, it's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruit cake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
There is hope. Visit groundwire.net and chat now with a live coach for answers.
Oh my God, Becky, did you see her bumper? I know she's had work done. Just last week, she had dimples and stuff all over, and now look.
Yeah, dimples and stuff. Yeah.
I'm Jamie Lasher from Minor Wreck Express. We're here to help with all the dents, dings, and drama of car ownership. Call 278-0101 or visit minorwreck.com for details. We'll see you in the fast lane.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right. Well, you're always going to find interesting guests on this show. I want to thank Baber's Neighbors for that, too, and I want to thank Reynolds Energy Solutions for sponsoring this segment of the program. And I want to thank Big Bird's brother, Bob, for joining us. Bob, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Bob, you know, you haven't got a lot of limelight. I mean, Big Bird is we're always hearing about Big Bird this, Big Bird that. And, you know, you're just kind of left out of the limelight. I guess I want to get your take. You seem to be depressed, bummed out. I want to know what your take on the election is this year.
You know, I don't really know, but I know they're going to affect my brother's pay. And I'm really bummed out because he actually supports his whole family. He's a really big family guy. And so if they get rid of Big Bird, we're not going to have a nest to go call home.
So you sound like you might be a Barack Obama supporter.
Well, I'm really not into politics. As you can imagine, birds kind of fly high above all this stuff. But yeah, I don't want my PBS to go away.
Well, you know, I grew up with that stuff. You know, PBS was, Sesame Street was really important to me growing up. Believe it or not, Oscar the Grouch, really identified with him.
Yeah, that guy's kind of mean, actually, when you get to know him. He's pretty mean.
All right. So, you know, I don't know whether Bob the Bird is going to get to vote or not. Are you registered to vote, Bob?
Well, I am, but again, bird elections are a little different. We had our vote a couple weeks ago, and we're just trying to figure it out. You know, some of our brothers are going south for the winter, and it's a mess.
Well, you know, there's plenty of new congressional districts down south where you can probably maybe even run a candidate at some point.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we've been trying to get Big Bird to do it because, you know, he's the most recognizable bird in the world, but you know, that guy, he's just really obsessed with teaching children and whatnot and not helping lead a nation, but that's a different story.
Well, Bob, if you really want to make a difference in this election and you want to keep PBS moving forward and you don't want your brother to lose his work, I suggest a vote for Barack Obama myself.
Well, I'm gonna encourage all the people to vote absentee, you know, and get all their votes in early. I'd like to see this thing wrapped up.
Well, if we could wrap it up and be promised that we'd be spared negative attack ads for a couple weeks, I think I'd be all in favor of that. Besides, there aren't no attack ads or ads for that matter at all on PBS.
No, not one.
All right. So anyway, Bob, what part of the country do you live in? I'm just curious.
Well, I typically like to live near the warmer weather, so I'm a big fan of Arizona, but I migrate. So, sometimes Texas, sometimes Florida. Today I flew through Iowa, and I got to be honest, a little cold and rainy for me.
Yeah, well, you just need to work on that plumage a little bit.
As you can see, I got plenty.
I guess you do have plenty. Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, Bob, thanks for joining us. Enjoy your flight south. Please consider if you're going to vote early, that's great. But if you care about PBS and about Big Bird, your brother, vote for Obama. Okay.
Will do, sir.
All right, thanks. Hey, folks, we're going to take a quick break here because I want to spend a little bit of time when we come back on this binders full of women thing. It almost it was an instant flash, of course. And in some ways, it's a trivial component of last night's debate. But in other ways, it is very, very telling. And I think it deserves some conversation. We'll be back in a minute on the Fallon Forum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of webcast1live.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going.
Hi, folks. It's Ed Fallon here. Proof Restaurant at 13th and Locust. You've probably been there for their award-winning, nationally recognized lunch specials. Well, now Proof is open Thursdays and Fridays for supper. And here's where the chefs really get creative. Let me tell you, they're like artists, okay? I've been there, and it is one of the best meals I have had in Des Moines. I've heard that from other people. You got to check it out. Proof for supper, Thursdays and Fridays, and also the second Saturday of the month. Do not assume you can get in. Make reservations. Contact Proof Restaurant online at proofrestaurant.com or 244-0655. That's 244-0655. Hi, folks. Ed Fallon here. When it is time to entertain, think of Gateway Market. Let them handle the details. Gateway offers a wide variety of stress-free options like cut-to-order cheese and charcuterie. There's a delicious olive bar and a wide variety of chef-prepared dips and spreads. Or let the catering team take care of the entire event, right down to the wine and beer pairings. The expert floral designers can even customize the perfect centerpieces. So stop by or visit Gateway Market for more information. Gateway is at Woodland and ML King in downtown Des Moines. Good food, great entertaining.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
That's Pumptown bringing us back, and this segment of the show is sponsored by Proof Restaurant. Folks, if you like having an alternative viewpoint available, if you're tired of the same old radical right drivel on commercial radio, do your part to support the businesses that help make this program possible. Proof Restaurants in downtown Des Moines. You're familiar perhaps with their incredible lunches, North African and Mediterranean food, but the big news at Proof is under new ownership, they are now open from Wednesday through Saturday for supper. You can get a fabulous dinner at Proof for a fairly reasonable price, and again, the chefs there are out of this world in terms of what they know how to do and how they put it together. I've had dinner there now 3 times, and it is always exceptional. Some of the best dining I've seen in Des Moines. So please check out Proof, folks. They're at 13th and Locust in downtown Des Moines, and you can reserve. Not a bad idea to make a reservation. You can go online at proofrestaurant.com. Okay, last night's debate, an interesting experience, as they often are. The bottom line, I guess, is that Obama needed to show some chutzpah, show some spunk. He did that. Romney needed to not screw up. He did that. Again, maybe you call it a draw, but I think overall it probably helped President Obama. And, it's not being called... people are having a lot of fun with the binders full of women thing, but I think there's more than fun to be had here. I think this is a serious look into how Romney views the world, and it's also indicative of a big problem Romney has with something called the truth. He tends to say whatever he wants. He tends to change his position however often he feels he needs to accomplish his political goals. And you've heard this criticism from his foes on the right as well. He has no political center. He has no issue, no compass that directs his passion. For all his faults, Ron Paul is always the same on issues. There are Democrats of the same mold who, when they tell you what they believe in, they're going to stand by that, even if the political winds may change. Now, Romney, he's always fluttering in the political winds. You never know where he's going to go, but you can probably assume he's going to go where he feels he can most comfortably win those folks who are yet undecided. And so yeah, he'll say what he wants, and the truth be damned. And the binders full of women thing was an excellent case in point in terms of his disregard for the truth, and also a deeper malaise that affects his inability to really relate to a lot of constituencies, including women. But before we talk a little bit more about the serious side of it, I've got a few graphics to share with you that, okay, some of this stuff is just too funny not to share. Yes, Romney still uses binders? Laugh out loud. That's Hillary Clinton tweeting during the debate last night. Okay, she probably didn't do that. I don't know why she's wearing sunglasses. Here's a stern look of Mitt Romney saying, "You shut your mouth, Candy Crowley, and get back in your woman binder." Okay. Here's Hugh Hefner. Binders full of women? Oh, sure. I've got hundreds of those. And this one's for you, Bradshaw. Jabba the Hutt. Jabba was also brought binders full of women, including Princess Leia, apparently. At least I know that much about Star Wars. And perhaps everyone's favorite from last night's debate, Bill Clinton entering the stage with President Obama looking a little bit out of sorts. Did someone say binders full of women? Anyway, Bill, couldn't resist having a little fun with you as well. You know, before, and one more thing we should look at, the actual clip from the debate. Maddie, hit that, would you?
Was serving as governor of my state because I had the chance to pull together a cabinet, and all the applicants seem to be men. And I went to my staff and I said, how come all the people for these jobs are all men? They said, well, these are the people that have the qualifications. And I said, well, gosh, can't we find some women that are also qualified? And so we took a concerted effort to go out and find women who had backgrounds that could be qualified to become members of our cabinet. I went to a number of women's groups and said, can you help us find folks? And they brought us whole binders full of women. I was proud of the fact that after I staffed my cabinet and my senior staff, that the University of New York in all...
Okay, binders full of women. I mean, other than the odd choice of words, what is he referring to? What is Mitt Romney actually talking about? Well, it doesn't take, you don't have to dig too deep to get a little bit more background. The story, what he says, is that on pay equity, he, you know, as governor, he had the chance to pull together a cabinet, and all the applicants seemed to be men. He says he went to his staff and said, okay, he's saying he initiated this. He went to his staff and said, how come all the people for these jobs are men? And he was told, well, these are the people that are qualified. Romney replies, well, we can't find some women who are also qualified. And so, says Romney, we took a concerted effort to go out and find women who had backgrounds that could be qualified. And we had folks pull together, quote, binders full of women. All right. The truth is, it's a lie. It's not. I mean, either his recollection is really poor or he knows he's making this up. You know, the contention from people in Massachusetts is that Romney wasn't concerned about the lack of women in government. He didn't ask women's groups for binders to help him out. Women's groups were concerned about the issue even before the elections, even before, you know, well before. And so they had put together binders, and they gave one to Romney after he was elected. So, I mean, this is the whole idea that he was out there proactively trying to find qualified female candidates for jobs in state government. Just not true. I mean, go to the folks who are allegedly responsible for putting these binders together at Romney's request. No, they did it. They did it because they felt it was important, and they understood that there was a significant deficit in Massachusetts government, you know, agencies. So what actually happened in 2002? Again, a little bit more background. Prior to the election, again, groups without even knowing that whether it was a Democrat or Republican going to win. I mean, in Massachusetts, you can usually assume a Democrat might win. So this bipartisan group of women who were concerned about the lack of qualified women in administrative positions in the government. There were about 40 organizations involved in what's called the Massachusetts Women's Political Caucus. And that was the lead sponsor. Sorry, they did the research. They put together a binder full of women who were qualified for all the different cabinet positions, agency heads, various authorities, various commissions, and they presented that to Governor Romney when he was elected. But that was available ahead of time. Okay, so the author of one article that I came across online, and again, thanks for the internet, folks, because you won't get all this stuff in the mainstream press. One article indicates the author checked with several people directly involved in MassGap. That's the organization in Massachusetts trying to close the gap between male and female pay and with women in positions of influence. They checked and found and yeah, it was confirmed by people involved in that group that Romney's claim that he asked for such a study is patently false. So, again, I hope that beyond the amusement of this, I hope people will continue to fact-check Romney. So what else to say about this? Again, if you have comments or questions or you want to join the dialogue, 244-00 877-244-0077. Beyond that, again, beyond the indication that, that Mitt Romney has a really, really hard time with the truth, and he has no political center. He's always going to go where he thinks he can get the biggest, advantage in a poll. And certainly we saw that with his comments recently about regulation. Since when did Romney come out as a fan of regulation? But let me look at a couple things here from the debate. I have said before, and I'll say again, there are distinctions between the candidates. You have to be aware of not just the distinctions between the candidates and the parties, but how specifically a candidate will affect policy if elected. In the case of the presidency, I absolutely do not want to see a Romney-Ryan administration for so many reasons. I mean, Romney is, you could argue that Obama's policies have been friendly to the 1%. Romney is the 1%. He is absolutely going to do Wall Street's bidding. He's going to be at their beck and call 24/7. And you've got Paul Ryan's budget to consider, a budget that would I mean, I can't even believe anybody would vote, anybody who is, in the lower 2/3 of the population would vote for a candidate whose budget is so draconian. There's so many awful things. So you've got that budget in the White House if Romney is elected. And very, very important, too, you've got a Supreme Court where there are appointments likely to come up. And, Obama's appointments aren't these far left folks. They're fairly moderate and balanced in their analysis of judicial rulings. But we have seen an appointment to the Supreme Court of people who are very far to the right. I mean, Clarence Thomas is probably the most egregious example. Here's somebody who has a very, very strong political agenda and very clear connections to a political preference. I think under a Mitt Romney administration, you will see more of that happening, and you'll get more of these rulings, like the Citizens United ruling, like the ruling in the 2000 election. That alone, if there was one reason to support Obama over Romney, that's it right there. Okay. But again, to be clear, there are differences between the presidency, U.S. Congress, U.S. Senate, Iowa House, Iowa Senate. You have to consider each of those functions independently. Again, I've said this before. Say it again. U.S. Congress. I'd prefer to see a Democrat or Republican. Although I say that knowing that when it was Democratic for 4 years, or for 2 years, I guess, we saw so little of substance happen. So little, given the opportunity and given the need, given what needs to happen in this country. So, and also given the fact that Congress is overwhelmingly Republican, the U.S. House, that is. I want to keep the Senate Democrat, if nothing else, for that check and balance. But the U.S. House is overwhelmingly Republican. And the new congressional districts, remember, Iowa is losing one. The new districts are going to be in the South, and they are likely to go Republican. Not just because it's the South, but because of the gerrymandering that happens in many other states, and in many states that pick up congressional districts. So, yeah, I'm not as concerned about what happens here in the 3rd District. I don't like the idea of Tom Latham as my congressional representative, but I don't like Leonard Boswell either, and I will not support either one. There are other races where maybe it makes sense to vote for a third-party candidate just to kind of, build some momentum for something other than the two-party system. But again, when it comes, I don't want to lead people to believe that Obama should not be challenged on issues because. Well, gosh, look what he had to say on energy last night. I'll just read you the quote. Quote, "There's no doubt that world demand has gone up for energy, but our production is going up and we're using oil more efficiently. And very little of what Governor Romney just said is true. We've opened up public lands. We're actually drilling more on public lands than in the previous administration. And the previous president was an oil man. And natural gas isn't just appearing magically. We're encouraging it and working with the industry." Here's the president that I thought understood climate change, boasting about drilling for more oil, opening up more public lands. A president who I thought appreciated the sanctity and rarity of our public parks, our national parks. Boasting about opening up more for more oil drilling, more exploitation of non-renewable fuels. What is wrong with this picture? And under this presidency too, we've got this whole. I understand natural gas is less polluting than coal, but the process of fracking, I don't think people fully understand just how destructive and dangerous fracking is. And here we have a president, a Democrat, who is strongly supportive of that. Yeah, I know when it comes to the wind energy tax credits, Romney says he's against, although he's backing off that. Obama has been for. Obama has done some things to encourage solar power. It's all good, but it's like the ship is filling with water, and instead of bailing it out with a huge brigade of people manning buckets or peopling buckets, whatever you want to say, handling buckets, we've got leadership that is taking one teaspoonful at a time and throwing that over the bow. No, this is a crisis situation. We need better action. We need more decisive action. We need leadership that's not going to pretend this problem doesn't exist. And if you want to continue boasting about drilling for more oil and opening up more public land, and he also boasts about, where's the quote? Boasts about liking pipelines. What does he say? Well, he said he's all for oil pipelines and oil production. What I'm not for is ignoring the other half of the quotation. Then he goes on to talk about wind energy, and again, that's good. That's good. I'm glad for that. But I mean, the Keystone Pipeline. Come on, this is not about our oil. It's not about U.S. oil. It's not even about taking oil from a friendly neighbor, i.e., Canada, and using it in the U.S. It's about bringing oil from Canada through the U.S. to a processing and exporting location on the Gulf of Mexico. I don't get it. I don't understand why Obama is not more vocal about the problem of climate change, about the problem of switching to a renewable energy economy. And I see Germany moving forward in leaps and bounds. Germany, a country with much less sun than us, that has done phenomenal things with wind, is doing phenomenal things with solar, is weaning itself off of nuclear power quickly, too quick for some people, but not enough for others. But there's some guts there. There's some fortitude. There's some willingness to stand by principles that, in the case of the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party officially gets this. Why can't more of our leaders get it? So, again, all that said, vote for Obama is the only way to go in this election. I wish we had a stronger leader on some of the issues that I care about, not just climate change, not just environmental protection, but certainly on foreign policy. We should have been out of Iraq quicker. We should not have continued in Afghanistan. Guantanamo should be closed. We didn't need to reauthorize the Patriot Act or the detention provisions of the National Defense Authorization Act. We certainly didn't need an anti-protest bill. So yeah, the list of my concerns and grievances, the use of drones, I mean, that's increasing. Yeah, I'm not happy. I'm not a happy camper. I am, as Arnie Arneson likes to say, majestically disappointed. But there is no there's no reason there's no reason not to vote for Obama when you think of all the damage that Mitt Romney will do. So let's continue to try to hold the presidency and Congress accountable for decisive action on climate change and on other fronts where we desperately need decisive action. Folks, Bradshaw will be with you next. Bradshaw, I think, coming on at 1:30, as is his usual wont, and I'm sure he will have lots of ridiculous things to say about the debate. Tomorrow, God, what am I talking about tomorrow? I do know that Friday I've got Tom Gohagan and Ron Yarnell joining me to talk about the Taft-Hartley Act. That's a critical issue when it comes to labor unions. Oh, tomorrow, yeah, I've got two Irish actors joining me for a look at a couple of productions that they are bringing to Central Iowa this week. We're very lucky to have these folks here. These are excellent plays with powerful messages political and otherwise, that we can hopefully learn from. Go to my website for details on that. One will be in Ames, one in Des Moines. I'm going to be hopefully checking out the production in Des Moines on Friday. I do want to thank again all of our sponsors, including Gateway Market. Gateway, I made it down to Gateway last night, and I struggled with oil. I fortunately have lots of great Facebook friends who have enlightened me about the various functions of oil, some of them in directly contradictory manners. But I was amazed at the selection of oil. Safflower, sunflower, coconut, olive, 5 or 6 different shades of olive at Gateway Market. But it goes along with the standard there. They've got a lot of everything. For a small grocery store, it is amazing how much they pack in there. Again, not just fruits and vegetables, a great wine section, a great bread section, dairy, a lot of dairy from local dairies, lots of meat, and a cosmetic section as well. So again, check them out. Support the local economy and support folks that believe in alternatives such as this program. Gateway Market at 20th and Woodland in downtown Des Moines in the Sherman Hill neighborhood. And I also want to thank Reynolds Energy Solutions. Please give Tim Reynolds a shout at 802-2801. He will do an energy audit for you that will identify problems where stuff is leaking. He will save you money. It won't cost you a penny. The audits are free. I said, yeah, free. But they won't cost you. They will probably save you money, because if you do any of the things that Tim suggests you do, if your residence is anything like mine, you will definitely cut your energy use, and save some bucks. So give him a shout as well. Again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank David Rosenfeld for joining me, and wish him luck in the debate down in southwest Iowa tonight. We'll be back tomorrow, folks, on the Fallon Forum.
I'm just saying. 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 Ching ching. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Feeling alone? God knows and He understands. Chat now with someone who cares at groundwire.net.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872.